Feel It, Heal It podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. All the links are below. And I am joined by Shan. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chantelle and I am the Hive lead and sexual health advisor at BHA for Equality.
And what is that?
Okay, so I am the Hive lead. So Hive is a project with an ambitious aim to end all new cases of HIV within a generation across Greater Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
So I go around the different boroughs in Greater Manchester doing HIV prevention, promotion. So we look at the different types of prevention,
which are?
So testing is one. So we talk about regular testing, HIV testing that is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that now at the moment because of COVID. You can order a test online. But
can you?
Yeah. The one that we used to do in the community, you get your results in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Really? See, my experience of HIV testing it's going to the clinic. You know when you've went to get your pill, well, when I used to be on that kind of contraception, I'd go and get my pills or just your check, and it would be a blood test, and you wouldn't get your results back for about 2 weeks.
You're waiting forever.
Yeah.
And just that whole feeling of going in the clinic anyway.
And being like, oh my God, who's in it? Am I going to see someone? They're going to know. Do they think I've got chlamydia? Do they think I've got... There's all that shame around it, isn't there?
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
Mm-hmm.
So we're based in the community. So we'll go to different places and do the testing. This was pre-COVID. So like asylum seeker projects, the gym.
In the gym?
Yeah, I go to Mossad Leisure Centre. Used to go every week.
And do you do the test for people?
Yeah.
Really?
So because it's confidential and obviously still some people are a bit like, HIV and sex and stuff, I don't really want to talk about it, I don't want anyone to see me. It was a case of come in, or you can book the test or just walk in, and we'd go to another place and do all that. We do like a wellbeing assessment, so that looks at the type of sex that you're having, like how risky it is, what prevention methods you're using, what is ideal for you, and then do the test. You get your results in 2 minutes, and then you go up.
That's technology that is proper come on leaps and bounds, hasn't it? Because my experience of it, until like when I was younger and stuff, it was nothing like that. And that it would be in the community. I really like that, instead of having to go to the clinic and feeling that.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people, there is that stigma, isn't there? Going to the community. Not the community, going to the clinic. Yeah. And not everyone's got the time to go to the clinic, or you can't get an appointment to go. So if we're coming to where you normally go, and you go to the gym anyway, like what's the difference of me going to the gym and getting that test? That's going to be 2 minutes, getting my results there, and then picking up some condoms, going through a little chat and stuff. Why not do it there where you're probably more comfortable? You have some people where they say when the feedback, they feel like maybe they're being judged when they go to the clinic. Like the same thing with who's there, who knows why I'm here. It's like you're all in the same place for the same thing. Well, not the same, but to look after your sexual health. But some people can't take that. So it's good that the option is there that we have about.
What made you passionate about this? How did you get into it?
So I've always had an interest in sexual health.
Yeah.
Wanted to do stuff around sex workers, like supporting them, or like women, in domestic violence, like that sexual abuse side. I've had that interest anyway. I did some work, and that was supporting child traffickers from Africa. Sorry, victims of child trafficking from Africa. And some of the victims had gone through sexual exploitation, and I did some youth work as well, and some of that was child sexual exploitation work. So I had that bit of knowledge and that thirst for a bit more. So when I seen this job come up, I was like, I need to do it. Yeah.
And is it something you've been interested in because of your own experiences with your own sexual energy or your own experiences of or people around you that you've seen and you want to make a difference with, or was it completely just separate from you?
Do you know what? I'm not sure. Maybe seeing, you know, women around and how they're within themselves, you know, not come out. That might have been something.
How do you mean within themselves?
So not, I don't know how to put it. Say that you're not out, there's no support, you know, whether that's some form of domestic violence or just you know, not having that confidence and being out.
How do you think we are as a whole, as women, when it comes to our sexual essence, our sexual energy, and embodying that? Do you think we've progressed? Or
Oh, massively.
Yeah?
Massively progressed. Just thinking about the work that I'm doing now, when you look at like the testing, couldn't quote you figures, but
yeah,
women, well, men are more likely to test than women. So it's a case of what's that about? But then women have high numbers of HIV, and we'll look at, you know, is when the man's going out and not necessarily being faithful, you not taking your test because your man might be thinking, well, why are you taking tests? What are you doing? Why you have to do that? Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, there are some barriers and there are some things that we're not talking about, but I do think that we are taking a bigger leap. Definitely.
What do you think the things are that we're not talking about, that we're not comfortable to talk about yet?
Probably pleasure. Like sex being pleasurable. Well, yeah, sex, all forms of it being pleasurable. I always say, like, men from boys talk about wanking
constantly.
Yeah, and that's normal.
But then when a woman talks about self-pleasure, it's you're frowned upon. Or
but you wouldn't even talk about that in school. You
wouldn't dare. No, wouldn't have dared talk about that when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And I think it's more as we've got older and you realise, oh no, this is normal. That's when it comes into conversations. Because I know me and you have had a conversation about this like before here. Yeah. But even that, it was like, when we had that conversation, I remember thinking, oh, Shan's open with that too. Like, I'm not the only one that will spark that conversation with people. And I think the power in that realising that is it's allowing us as women to embody everything in terms of sexual energy, because I think there's been a really powerful suppression on women's sexual energy, dating way back, like religion and mythology, all of that. And it's kind of, for a woman to be open about a sexuality and open about self-pleasure or just sex in general, we're very much seen as skets or slags or she's loose. And it's nothing to do with that, but we have been suppressed, and that's changing now, is I think because women are realising the power in their sexual energy. And I think our sexual energy isn't just to do with like sex, it's our creativity, it's how we manifest, there's so much more too
than just sex. Definitely. So like, I was gonna go back to, obviously in school where, you know, it's normal for boys to talk about wanking, and, you know, whether it's in a joking way or whatever, they have that open dialogue, talking about how they pleasure themselves, whereas girls don't. You do sex education, what's that, one lesson or whatever, and that's talking about sex as a reproductive thing, not about a pleasure thing. And then obviously you grow up and you're so used to the boy talking about what he likes because he's had time to figure that out and wank to his heart's content. And then it's like, when you're actually there ready to have sex, you're doing it to pleasure him because he can tell you, this is what I like. It's not about yourself. Whereas I think now, because there's more of an open dialogue, and I think more so younger people as well. You've got a charity called Sexpression, and I know they go around different schools, and they talk about sex as being pleasurable.
Wow.
So they kind of take that job away from the teachers there. Do you get what I mean? You might be feeling a bit like, oh, I can't really teach this, and it's a bit embarrassing, and am I teaching the right thing? Like, so they go in and they teach that around different schools. So I think with that, I don't know, some people who have got open, I don't know, relationships with the parents that I'll speak to them about stuff like that as well. Yeah.
And what do you think? What do you think we can get from being more open about our pleasure and what we enjoy as women and as young girls?
Knowing yourself. Not even just about what that other person can do for you. Like I always say, if you don't know what you like, then how can you tell someone else what you like? How can you tell someone else stop? No. If you don't know what you like, and you don't know if it's supposed to feel like that or it's not, and you're just going along with it just for the ride and because they feel good, then not doing yourself any justice, are you?
And I think it also helps young girls to understand that everything to do with sex isn't just for the man.
No.
And it allows young girls to understand that I matter. Like, I actually do matter, because I don't think we're really brought up to feel like that, especially in the sexual content. Like, it's how can I please him? What can I do for him? What underwear can I wear that's going to make him really, really want me? But babes, do you want him? That's the thing. Like, do you want him? Do you want to have sex? But for me, I didn't get to that point until way later on in life, because it had never been a conversation.
I agree. I think it starts from young as well. So knowing what your body parts are and what they're for. Also, when we're talking about sex as well, what is sex? Is it just penetration, or is it more than that? Having that understanding, and like I said, being able to have that open dialogue is so important. Because if you're not getting that, not even necessarily advice, but you're not having that conversation with someone that you trust as an adult as well, you're going to get that information from the wrong place. Maybe your friends in school, or the wrong elder, or you're gonna maybe, you don't know, mess about and, you know, try out and whatever, but that's with that wrong person. And that's when we talk about energies, like we were talking the other day as well. Like, you're sharing something that's sacred to yourself with someone else, and allowing their energy to come to you as well, which isn't necessarily the best.
No. And I speak about this quite often, because I don't think people understand exactly what happens when we orgasm energetically. All of our chakra points are wide open. So we're in complete alignment when we're in orgasm. Like, our soul is leaving our body, and that's that whole body sensation. So when we're completely open energetically, as a woman,
the wrong person. So,
who's inside of us really, really matters, because we're open. What are we taking from him? If we're talking like men and women, what are we taking from women and women, like men and men? It's not just men and women. But when we're so open energetically, careful who you're lying down with, because if it's not somebody that is in like an energetic alignment, they don't look after themselves energetically, they don't sage, smudge, whatever, you're taking in all of their trauma, all of their mental stress, all of their emotional stress. And that's why a lot of women will say, like, after having sex with someone, I just feel heavy, or I'm tired, or I'm out of whack, because you're not only working through your own shit now, you're now working through his shit.
As well as the other people that he's dealing with, maybe as well.
You're taking on all of their energy.
Because you always say, like, you're sleeping with that person, then they're probably sleeping with 2 other people, and those 2 other people are probably sleeping with 3 other people.
Yeah.
You're taking on all those other people as well, and their energies.
And there's not very much information, I don't think, out there in regards to this, but it's such an important message, I think, that needs to get out there, just because when you're feeling a bit off, or when you think you've got depression, or when you can't sleep at night, sometimes it's not even yours.
Yeah.
Like, it's down to who's been inside you.
Exactly.
And who you've exchanged energies with. And if you think, like, you must have experienced times when you go to, like, work and someone's in a shitty mood and it rubs off on you, and then you feel in a shitty mood.
You've not even had sex with him.
That's just from being in the same room as them.
Exactly.
Imagine what happens when you literally are sharing a bed, you're intimate, energetically you're wide open to each other. It's powerful shit, and I think sex has lost its sacredness, and how important it is and powerful it is energetically. I don't think that's held to any esteem now.
No. I think as well, like, that it's seen as like having a goal, like it's goal orientated in it as well. Like, you've got to bust a nut or whatever for it to mean that it was sex. You've got to penetrate for it to mean that it was sex. You've got to get to this sort of level, or you've got to have done this, that and the other, whereas it's not. It's not at all. Just that intimate moment, whether it's a kiss, do you get what I mean? It's not penetrative sex. Just anything that makes you feel good and that pleasure.
This is a question, I don't know if I even know the answer to it for myself, but why do you think, as a culture, or as a generation, not as a culture, as a generation, why do you think we've moved into this one night stand, constantly, like, casual sex? It's a good question, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't even know if I know the answer myself.
I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe, well, no, because I was going to say maybe because back in the day you couldn't have done that, but it's always been practiced, hasn't it? Orgies and stuff like that has always been practiced. Maybe why is it more open rather than why are people practicing it more? Because people have always been practicing one night stands and stuff like that. I don't know, they're thinking maybe it's more accepted, because people are talking about it a bit more, and then you realise, you know, it's not just me, such and such a person's done that as well. I think that's probably the question, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you know what I think it is as well? I think it's a little bit of, like, sex and sexual energy and all of that has been suppressed for a very, very long time. It's been hidden and it's been shushed, and we don't talk about that. That's rude, kind of thing. And I feel like maybe a little bit what's going on is we're in the rebellion phase because it's open. It's not so much hush, hush, hush. I feel like maybe we're in the rebellion phase at the minute.
Yeah. But also as well, like, why can't I talk about everything that I enjoy and that makes me feel good?
Yeah.
I can sit here and talk about eating the best chocolate in the world,
So
but why can't I sit and talk about the best sex in the world, or the best kiss in the world, or the best touch in the world? Like,
I agree. So what do you think we need to do differently for our young girls then?
Have that open conversation and just be honest with them from the beginning. So yeah, no, I say to everyone knows anyway that knows me, my kids know what a penis and a vulva is, and that's what they're named, because if you're calling it a fireman and do you get what I mean, a flower, then that's kind of that shame in a way.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and it's like, no, it's not that. It's, do you get what I mean? It's called a penis or it's called a vulva. Why has it got a different name now? Let me just know what it is from the beginning. What are these? These are eyes. I'm not putting round balls in my... Do you get what I mean? Like, let's just say what they are. And then I think it also gives room as well, if there is something, some sort of abuse or something that's going on, at least that child from young can tell you then such and such has happened, or somebody's touched blood, and they can say the actual body name and be explicit about it. Onto telling your daughter or whoever you've got that relationship that's younger, you know, it's okay to touch her. It's you know, you should be looking in the mirror to know what it looks like. So then if there is any changes, then you can identify that yourself. It's yours, it's not for anyone else to touch. Having those conversations, I think, from young is important, because then you've not got that shame and that stigma around it. It's just normal, isn't it?
What's your own experience of overcoming sexual shame?
I don't know. It's a deep one, Rakaya.
Is it?
Yeah, because I've not got to think now. What's my own experience of overcoming sexual shame? So I'm just thinking, like, back, I called my vagina a teddy bear. That's really? What it was from younger. Yeah, teddy bear. That's what it was. And I don't think that I've seen it as shame. There's just never, it's never really been a conversation. Do you know what I mean? Where I've sat there and been open about it, because no one's had that conversation. Do you know what I mean? So have I thought of it as shame, or it's just something that I don't really need to talk about?
Disassociate.
Yeah.
I think for me, I know growing up like with a really strict Muslim dad, it was drilled into me from a very early age. No sex before marriage. If kissing came on the TV, that got switched off. Like, just a kiss. If the word sex or anything that had anything to do with that area and our sexual energy, it just was locked off. Like, it was haram, and you did not speak about it, and you didn't talk about it. It wasn't anything that you did unless you were married and you were trying to make a baby. I didn't see my mum and dad kissing. I didn't see them cuddling. When my dad remarried, they just had my little sister, but we never seen anything intimate.
Any forms of, like, affection or intimacy.
And I think for me, like, that impacted my understanding of intimacy in general, not just like sex. But
definitely.
When I'd get into a relationship, I wasn't touchy-feely because I hadn't seen that growing up.
Because you'd not seen that model to you. Yeah.
So it took a long time. And then in terms of sex, I think I kind of rebelled, and then was comfortable with sex, but it was more from a rebellion place. It wasn't from, I want this and this is comfortable. It was kind of like, I'm doing it because
it's been
I'm
held
not meant
back from you for ages ago. It's like, they don't look at my nails.
Yeah, they don't look at my nails thing. Yeah. And so for me, it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to have sex, but I'm not having sex because I'm coming from a healed, healthy, centered place, and I want to engage in this. It was more rebellion. And it took me quite a while to get to a place where I'm like, actually, no, why am I sleeping with you?
Yeah.
Just asking myself that, am I looking for validation?
Yeah.
Am I craving intimacy and closeness? Am I looking for love in this situation? It's asking myself all these different questions, because I do think a lot of women and men, but society in general, we have sex for the wrong reasons. We're trying to fill a hole that wasn't met when we were a child. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we do. Now you're saying that.
Yeah.
And like, say, what hole are you trying to fill?
And I think if the world was asking themselves them questions, there'd be a lot less casual sex. And not that casual sex is right or wrong.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of casual sex comes from an empty place and you're trying to fill a void. A lot of the times, not all the times.
Interesting that you say that. Someone can just be like, well, I just like sex. I just want to have sex.
And and I also agree with that. But when you stop and ask yourself, before you go there. And I had to do it, like, I really had to do it. I was like, you go in to see this guy right now, but you feel lonely. You go in because you want a cuddle.
Yeah.
You don't want sex.
You don't want the sex. You want everything else that comes with it, the conversations, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And I just don't think a lot of us are asking ourselves those questions. And we're having sex, and then a lot of people are feeling shit after the sex because it wasn't the sex that they wanted.
That was it even with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because like I was saying, some people are like, well, I just want sex, but then after you've just had your sex, has that fulfilled you in how you expected it to, or do you just want the sex again and you're just going to keep craving that until you've got, well, you haven't got what you're searching for deep down? Because are you asking yourself them questions as well?
And I think some people, yes, I just really enjoy sex. Kudos to you, and have fun and enjoy your sex. Be safe. But just check in, like, what am I after here? Is it actually sex?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's not sex that you're after. It's intimacy, it's validation, it's feeling sexy, pretty. It's somebody to make you feel like they love you even though they don't. It's all of those other things that,
and some of the stuff that you can give to yourself, innit?
We actually absolutely can give to ourselves. We can give all of those things. Do you know how to give
that to yourself?
So I learned.
If you've not been taught it.
Yeah, no, and we're not, because we're not taught how to be intimate with ourselves. We're not taught, I'll take myself out for dinner tonight. We're not taught to, like, and this sounds so like weird.
Go on.
But like down to, like, if I'm missing touch, but I'm not just gonna go and call up my ex from because what does all that come with? If I'm missing touch, I will touch my arm
100%.
and I will spend time with myself in an intimate, pleasurable way that I'm seeking from, the old me would have sought from somewhere else.
And that is a form of masturbation as well. It's not just touching your genital areas. It's or anything, any type of touch that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So I think like
is that classed as a form of masturbation?
Yeah. So anything any type of touch that is pleasurable. So obviously, I think that stigma as well with that masturbation, that word, like, oh, it's just to touch your vulva, or it's, do you get what I mean? You'll touch your breasts, you'll touch anywhere that makes you feel good. For some people, it could be your chin, it could be your scalp. Do you get what I mean? People are different, and we can sit there as well and talk about, I don't know, different forms of sex, especially being younger as well, and be like, oh, that's disgusting, anal. So, do you get what I mean? All these, that's disgusting, and they actually like that. And I think, like, growing up now and the type of work that I do, it's like you can't even judge people for shit that they do, because if that is pleasurable to them, then leave them be.
Yeah, I agree.
Leave them be.
I agree.
Like, I get a lot of that, you know, just when I go out and I talk to people about, I don't know, talk about people who do different sorts of things for their sexual pleasure, and people like, what's that? And I think because of the work that I do now, I'm more, you've just got to live and let live. Like, different strokes for different folks. People might think that you're a bit weird as a woman to want to have sex with a man. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So you've just got to leave people be.
And what's helped you then on your journey to figuring out what you like? And
I think probably my experiences, definitely my experiences, and probably going back when we're talking about what the man wants rather than what you want. It's about me. Like, being able to be more vocal and say, I don't like that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. How long did it take you to get to a place? Like, what age would you say you were at when you started thinking, actually, it's about me as well?
past, like, probably after having my first child.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Same. It took
Definitely.
me a while.
Because like I say, when you're younger, you think that it's the shit.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's the shit. But looking back now, it really is.
No. And you think just because you've had sex, oh my God, that was so good. And then you look back, now understanding your own body.
Yeah.
And knowing what you like, you look back and you're like, that wasn't
what
good.
Was that?
What was that? He busted his nut and I just
what did I
pretended I liked it. And 9 times out of 10 you were just pretending anyway, because you're just going off what you've seen in porn or films.
That's a thing as well with porn. And each to their own with this as well, because I don't want to be judgmental. But when I don't know, when I have conversations about this, it rattles me a bit to know that people watch that to get their education off it. And also that performance-based sort of sex, like they want that in the bedroom, like wherever they go, because that's normal. No, it's not. That's not what it's like. Not for everyone anyway. And that rattles my cage a bit. And like the people, what they've been through that are in the porn movies, like some of them are trafficked.
The sex industry, like the porn industry, is. I've always been really interested in sex trafficking, prostitution, the sex industry in general. So I've watched loads of documentaries and like read up loads about it. And there's a girl actually who is from Manchester, and have you seen her story not long ago? And she's talking about she was a porn star, and then it turned into like this sadism. And when we finish, I'll send you the link. She was explaining like the stuff that she went through and the way she was treated, just being in that industry, and it's scary.
I can imagine. And
a lot of them are drugged up, like to their eyeballs. For you to have to be drugged up to do a job and to perform, it tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Perform. Like, just to lose all your inhibitions, like in that sort of way. To not even enjoy it, but to put something out there for other people to enjoy.
And I think it creates false expectations for men. Like, what would you say men are about 13, 14 when they start watching porn?
Hopefully if not younger, innit? Nowadays, yeah. Well, everyone's got tablets and phones now, haven't they? From how old?
Yeah. So they're young.
Yeah.
So imagine as a young boy, that's what you've seen from a young age. That's because no one's talking to you about sex really in the family home. It generally gets switched off if it comes on TV, doesn't it? Generally.
Yeah, definitely.
So your only knowledge of what sex is meant to look like is porn, and a lot of it is like really extreme stuff that is actually really belittling to women. And whatever floats your boat, do your thing. But when you've been brought up seeing like men spit on women, men really degrade women, where women are crawling across the floor and pissing and shitting on women, when you've looked at that on porn sites and that kind of looks normal,
that's what you're practicing.
You get in a real relationship and she's not doing any of those things, and you're then not satisfied because, oh well, this isn't what the pornos, and she's shit in bed her.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not that she's shit in bed, it's that your expectations are completely
you
made
need
up
to be in a porn movie yourself. Yeah.
And then I think for girls, it puts all this added pressure on. I need to wear sexy underwear and I need to be like performing.
I need to do this in order for him to be happy.
Yeah.
Rather than for me to be happy.
And I just personally, I'm not a fan of porn. I think
Same.
Just knowing the energy that's made with, unless I've never found a different kind of porn.
Do feminist porn.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I don't really know much about it, but they do feminist porn. I have heard some people say, you know, it's the next best thing, you know, compared to the mainstream that you'll get, but then it's not representative. So you've not got, you know, like the people behind that. There's not many women of colour that are behind making the movies and stuff. But yeah, you'll have to have a look into it. I mean, I don't know how much different it would be because it's performance based, isn't it? You always think like porn, is it not like got this storyline? Do you get what I mean? Like going out for a meal and, you know, romantic meal and then having this build up. No, it's just straight into it, like
straight away. Like no nothing.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is more along those lines or not, but apparently it's a lot better than your mainstream porn.
And what would you like to see then in terms of sexual energy and sexual empowerment? What change would you like to see?
What in everyone?
Yeah.
I just think like from the beginning, I know I keep saying this, but it's important to have that open dialogue from the beginning. So I'm not necessarily saying let's talk about sex with your little ones, but just be open and honest. If they ask you a question that's got something to do with sex, don't brush it off and go on like it's not a conversation to be had. And when it does come to that time of talking about sex, like talk about the pleasure as well. Don't make it seem like it's alien or like you don't have the right to feel that. Yeah, I mean, I'd love for schools to discuss it more in that way as well. And even though I know that it's not the school's job to do that, it starts at home, doesn't it? Because whatever you learn at home just gets complemented in school. I just think if we're a bit more open with our children.
And what do you think women can do to get to know their bodies more?
Know what you like.
How do we know what I like?
I did this, what was it now? A Tantra workshop. And I did another workshop as well. It's like the same day. 2 different workshops. And the Tantra one was amazing. Like, literally.
It's breath work, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there was some breath work, but she did exercises where you was with someone else. So I'm in a room with people that I don't know here. And one of the exercises, you team up with someone else, so you and your partner. And she was just like, just stroke your arm and pretend that you're a newborn baby. Use the pads of your fingers, close your eyes, and just what does that touch feel like for you? And then you had to do it with the partner. So your partner did the touch, said don't go further than the forearm. So say you was my partner and then you would stroke my forearm. And then I would then say to you if I didn't like it, or do you know, that felt nice there, or stop, anything like that. And then vice versa, you did it the other way with your partner. And after that she went, right, how did that feel for everyone, you know, going through that? And she went, did anyone find it difficult to say stop or that I don't like it? And there was a couple of people in the room that was like that, and I was like, because when she was like, those people that felt like that was you in a safe space in a room full of people, you didn't feel comfortable to say that. Now imagine you was on a one-on-one having sex with someone or about to. I was like, oh my God, that's so worrying. That you couldn't say that to someone that you didn't know.
And it's a normal situation to not feel comfortable with them touching you anyway.
How would you be in that space with someone on a one night stand or someone that you love, that you're in a relationship with, but maybe think, I don't want to upset him or whatever, you not feel comfortable in saying that?
And look how many times that happens though.
The whole consent thing.
Yeah. And I know I've spoke to so many women, and I know myself, I've been in situations where I've said, no, stop it now. And that has made them think, oh, this is a game. This is oh, I'll wear it down, and it actually has excited people before, which is quite sick, really.
And then push them to further push that boundary.
Yeah. And there's so many women that have been in a situation where it's the partner, like they're in a relationship and they'll do it just because they don't want the partner to feel rejected. Or if they say no, the partner goes in a huff, and then he's in a mood, and it's just so common, but it's not really spoken about, is it?
Sick.
What other things can people do to get to know their body?
So like I say, just like looking in the mirror, touch. Like we talk about that. You talk about, you know, doing the dancing and stuff like that. I think that's a big thing. Like dancing, looking in the mirror whilst you're dancing, like at what shapes you can do with your body and how that makes you feel. Dressing up for yourself,
I love
not
that
for anyone else. Yeah. And the postman comes. And not necessarily. I think so. Getting to know your body. If you just concentrate in on your genitals, there's other areas that you can, and you don't necessarily have to use toys. You know, you can use your hands. Or I did this Wank from Home series workshop.
Oh, really?
Last year. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
And they were looking at like different household things that you could use. Like,
what were the things that came
remote
up?
Control. Do you know your old phone with the wire? Do you remember your phone with the cord?
The house phone?
Yeah, like that cord.
What do you do with the wire?
Like...
Really?
A hairbrush. Like, oh my God, it was insane.
Do we sanitize these first and after?
Before and after. Yeah, before the kids go for the phone, like, hello. Literally, like, deodorant, the stuff that they were coming up with, I was like, oh my God.
So who was coming up with all these?
So it was like, it was a series, I think, of 2 or 3 workshops. And it was just, there was a different topic every time, but then at the end they'd have like a little quiz or a little suggestion sort of thing, like these are the type of things that you can use at home, or, you know, whilst you're in lockdown, these are different things that you can do. There was a book, I'll find out the name of it. There's like a book, and someone, I think there's more pictures, and it was their ideas of different things that you could use from home.
No way.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
So you'd say, so just to round up that little bit, you'd say to get to know your body, it is touching yourself, dressing up for yourself, doing exercises where you're looking at yourself, you're feeling yourself and taking note, oh, I like this, I don't like this.
Breath work as well.
Do you know what? Breath work with self-pleasure is the most powerful ways to not only orgasm, but unlock stagnant energy.
Okay.
Have you ever, there's a lot of breathwork techniques that you can use when you're self-pleasuring. And if there's something blocked, you'll find that when you orgasm, you start crying.
Because like you've released
something that's stuck in you. And sexual energy is powerful to not only release emotional blocks, but also manifesting. Have you heard of like techniques where you'll pleasure yourself and then keep this image of what you're trying to manifest, and as you orgasm you picture that image?
No way.
And yeah, it's powerful. And the reason why it is so powerful is because our sexual energy is creativity.
Yeah.
It's where we manifest from. So if we're using our orgasm when we're in alignment, we're closest to source.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's so many techniques on like, you can do it with a partner or by yourself.
Yeah. But definitely that breath work, that intensifies shit to another level.
Yeah.
But that whole manifestation thing, what you're saying now, that all makes sense. Like,
because you're in alignment. When you orgasm, you are orgasming, you're open, you're energetically open. So there's no self-doubts, there's no, oh, I'm not going to be able to manifest this because I didn't have this growing up.
From a euphoric state.
Exactly.
So you've not got any of that.
So you've got this image, say you're trying to manifest a new house, you have that image in your head of this house.
I know, I'm thinking of your house.
And I know it sounds mad. Yeah. But like, so you don't have to think about that on the whole build-up.
Yeah, no, but if you've got that in
your mind, when you're in total alignment, connected to source, you're open, you orgasm, picture this manifestation, and it comes 10 times quicker. It's really, really powerful. And you come 10 times.
I love it.
But yeah, breath work as well. And do you know why breath work's so good for intensifying your orgasm? It's because it brings you into your body. I think a lot of the times when we're having sex or we're having sex with ourselves, we're very much in our head, and we are trying to bust for a release.
For the release. Exactly.
And so when we breathe and really slow our breath down, it brings us out of our head and into our body. So you can really feel that energy rushing through you.
100%. I think another thing as well, there was another workshop that I did a couple of years ago, and that was looking at as a woman, like how you feel about your body as well.
Oh really?
So you look at the Barbie stereotype, looking at a breast, the flat stomach, like just everything's in proportion. And then also like looking at your vulva as well. A lot of people are getting work done, so it's tighter, so it doesn't look how it looks on them. Like not realising that there's thousands and millions and billions and trillions of different types of vulvas. So not having that shame and realising that you're unique to yourself and it's okay. Doesn't have to look like what it looks like in the porn movies, or do you get what I mean? Like that, I think, is a big thing, especially with the young girls at the moment as well. When you look at, you know, who they're looking at and what their bodies look like and what they're talking about, that's pretty scary.
And do you know what? If we think about all of the things that we've had to work through in terms of our image and our bodies, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Instagram.
Exactly.
I don't know how I'm going to be when I have children, because they're growing up and they're looking at Instagram and everyone's got the best backside, the nicest boobs, the trim, the snatch.
But the way you're talking though, the best backside, the nicest boobs. Yeah. Why is it the best? What makes
in
it
society?
Exactly.
Like society.
But what makes it the best? Because someone could like that best backside, but then someone else is like,
couldn't.
Well, that's not really for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even about what those people think anyway, but you know, perception of what the best is and what the nicest is.
And I get what you mean. So maybe like society's perfect, like
the ideal.
The ideal, yeah. And so kids are growing up seeing that, like that worries me in terms of what's their confidence gonna be like, or they're gonna grow up comparing
that body.
It's
gonna fuck you up.
And we didn't grow up with Instagram and the internet, and the internet was on a PC in the living room, and that was
exactly dial up AOL.
Yeah. And when you were on it, the whole house knew you were on it.
You was on it. Exactly. But yeah, definitely just loving you in it. Loving all of you.
And understanding that no one is this ideal perfect. Even the women that we see online or on TV,
they're not.
It's all airbrushed. It's all photoshopped. It's all filtered. No one very few people put the real them out there now. But I have noticed a difference. I have seen a lot of posts, and maybe that's because I make sure I follow those kind of accounts.
Yes.
Where women are putting stuff up with like no filters and saying this is what I really look like, or with the tummy roll. Yeah.
Then you go out and then someone's like, oh, I didn't even know that was you. Like, sorry.
But yeah, like just the real instead of the face we put on for the world.
Yeah. And is that face for the world, or does it actually make you feel good?
I think it makes you feel good.
Really? And in terms of when you talk
when
about
you
making
can step into it. Yeah. But I think there's the battle of this isn't the real me though. But I do think people get instant gratification from putting on that face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But really and truly when you sit, there'll be that internal battle. Well, that isn't really me though. This is the reality, and actually, so when you sit with the reality, you feel completely shitter because that's not really you.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, definitely, I think that's a big thing. To love yourself or love you from day dot.
And I think for me the biggest thing that helped me get there was that thing that I do when I say I put in all my programs is the dancing in the mirror, because physically and creaming myself in the mirror and speaking to my body. And there was times where I would cream my body and inside I'd be like, ew, like genuinely I used to hate my body, and I'd have to force myself to be like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. And I didn't actually believe what I was saying, but practicing that over time, it shifted.
I actually believed it.
Yeah.
And that's a shame as well, because there's so many people that are like that and probably aren't even taking that step to practice those things to get to love themselves. And if you don't, how can you give yourself to someone else? If you don't love yourself enough for you.
And you find when you do that, you're giving yourself to people that also don't love you, because how you feel about yourself you will attract, because you only attract.
It's true.
And so we find ourselves in loops and cycles of men who or women who don't value friendships, relationships with people who don't value you and love you, because first of all you don't love and value yourself. So it's kind of bringing that. But yeah, it's powerful how we feel about ourselves.
Defo
Spills out into everything that we do, down to the jobs we accept for ourselves. But yeah,
definitely.
Thanks for joining me today. If you aren't already, subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. What's your handle? Oh, do you not want to share it?
I don't know what my handle is.
Your Instagram?
I don't know.
I've
had Instagram for years. I think I had it for about 5-6 years before I started using it.
Okay.
I don't know. You have to tag me.
Shan doesn't know a handle, but I'll put it down there.